Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
One of the country's most wanted men shot and killed by police. Baha Mar players back in court as government's attorneys argue for a winding up. A retired Anglican archbishop speaks out on corruption, plus the new immigration rules for students in effect for the new school year. We've got those stories and more coming out tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and MV12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, police shot and killed one of the country's most wanted men in the Cowpen Road area today following a high-speed chase and shootout. Authorities say the Haitian Bahamian committed 3 armed robberies before he was gunned down in front of a cemetery and was wearing a police sergeant's stolen uniform shirt and stripes. He is the 4th police suspect killed in a week. Bonnie Toot has the details.
Officials say the man who was wanted in connection with a number of recent armed robberies was caught in that Honda CR-V, which police believe was stolen. Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean says it all started around 10 a.m. when a gunman wearing a police officer's stolen uniform shirt and stripes allegedly held up a man on Carmichael Road and stole this Jeep Cherokee, which was eventually found near Mount Tabor Gardens. Minutes later, that same gunman, identified by police as wanted suspect Ronnie Jean, allegedly robbed a woman of her cell phones before robbing another man of this silver Honda CR-V.
The police officers on patrol spotted the vehicle in the Spikenard Road area. A chase ensued. The suspect continued to accelerate at a high rate of speed. The vehicle crashed into the gate at the Spikenard Graveyard. The suspect alighted the vehicle, came out of the vehicle, and began to fire on police and began to run. Police returned fire. The suspect was struck several times.
Jean, who was 32 years old, was rushed to hospital in critical condition and underwent emergency surgery. However, he died in hospital hours later. Dean says a handgun believed to be Jean's was found on the scene. The assistant commissioner described the Lazaretto Road resident as dangerous.
Police can confirm that the suspect is one of our most wanted suspects, Ronnie Jean, who is responsible for a number of robberies, armed robberies. This person is a very dangerous person. He has caused harm to a number of persons. He has held up a lot of women, men, stolen a lot of vehicles. So the police are satisfied. And as a result, all of our work paid off by intelligence from members of the public.
More than 30 police officers and 15 police vehicles were spotted on the crime scene today. Dean said police are also investigating to determine whether Jean was responsible for the recent armed robbery of a police officer whose uniform was stolen. In fact, he said the suspect was wearing a police officer's blue uniform shirt and sergeant's stripes.
The stripe was attached to his shoulder.
Just the uniform?
We don't know who he's posing as. We know he wasn't a police officer. He's not registered. He's not authorized to carry any firearms. He's not one of ours. But he's not a police officer. Let the record reflect. All right? Okay. So he's in custody, though. And y'all should be very happy today.
Jean is the 4th suspect killed by police and the 6th suspect shot by officers in just over a week. Officers shot and killed 2 suspected armed robbers after a high-speed chase over the weekend. A 3rd suspect in that incident was also shot and sent to hospital in critical condition. Days before that, police shot and killed the suspects in a Gamble Heights shantytown during a violent struggle. However, Dean defended officers today, insisting they are disciplined and well-trained.
You have been asking to arrest these dangerous people. We cannot begin to be sympathetic when these dangerous people are in custody. They are no good to society. They must be in prison where they belong. So we say to members of the public, we will continue to do our job. We are being paid by members of the public to arrest persons. And if anyone opens or fires a gun at the police officers, we are trained to return fire. The police officers' life be in danger and members of the public life be in danger. We have a duty to protect ourselves. We have a duty to protect you, members of the public.
The assistant commissioner said when a suspect is killed by a police officer, the matter is investigated by the coroner. He warned that police are on the streets in great numbers and will continue to hunt down dangerous suspects who are in and out of prison and are hell-bent on committing crimes. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Toot.
The UK attorney who appeared on behalf of the government today in the Baha Mar court case has argued that the court should agree to the appointment of a provisional liquidator because Baha Mar is insolvent. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It was back in court today for all sides in the Baha Mar court case. The government's attorney from the UK, Peter Knox, took several hours today to stress his point that there needs to be a provisional liquidator appointed because he says Baha Mar is insolvent. The government's lead attorney, Peter Knox, QC, told the court that the uncertainty surrounding Baha Mar's future is a real risk. Knox pointed to a warning from international credit ratings agency Standard & Poor's that the Bahamas risked a credit downgrade if the Baha Mar crisis is not soon resolved. S&P released its warning days after Baha Mar filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in Delaware on June 29th. Knox said it would be just and equitable to wind up Baha Mar, given that the project has no timeline for completion. He reminded the court that work on the resort has stopped and there is no real prospect for completion of the project in the near future. Knox said there is no clear indication how the respondents, that is, the various Baha Mar companies, plan to complete the project in the near future. He said there had been a deal on the table for the developer Sarkosis Merlion to put up a guarantee of $200 million. However, that agreement, he said, wasn't successful. But one of Baha Mar's lawyers, Ian Corbett, QC, said there was no proposal put on the table by Baha Mar. What the developer did instead, he said, was file for Chapter 11. Knox said that in this case, the government isn't relying on regulators, but is simply saying that it is best the project be wound up. He added that given what government has invested in the project, it is of national interest that it be wound up or have provisional liquidators appointed on the basis of insolvency and because it is equitable. The government had said the appointment of provisional liquidators would lead to the project being completed. Knox also entered an application to strike out the first winding up petition that the Attorney General filed. He said the government has since filed several petitions to seek to wind up 7 of the Baha Mar companies. The 7 respondents left are Baha Mar Limited, Baha Mar Gulf, Baha Mar Holdings Limited, BM3 Limited, Cable Beach Resorts, Baha Mar Enterprises, and Baha Mar Properties Limited. When it filed its winding up petition last month, the government said Baha Mar owes it more than $58 million, which included business license fees and real property taxes. The matter has been adjourned until tomorrow morning at 10. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Government needs to do more to stamp out corruption and political patronage. This according to retired Anglican Archbishop Gomez, who said today he's proud of his son, Minister of State for Legal Affairs Damian Gomez, for the stance he has taken against corruption.
Honest Bahamians would have to admit that you can look at certain FNM families, certain PLP families who have what they have today because of political patronage. And you don't have to do any big set of research to know, because it's open secret that the party in power benefits its supporters to a certain extent. Not all of its supporters, but there are people who are in the party. Family, friends, associates, and connections who benefit from the system. And that is morally wrong.
State Minister of Legal Affairs Damian Gomez told the NASA Guardian's National Review he's disappointed government is not serious about dealing with corruption and suggested that no matter who is in office, Bahamians with no power and no strong family connection to those in power are left to share the crumbs. Archbishop Gomez said he agrees and called for those party officials who have used their position for the benefit of friends, family, or association to be prosecuted.
There's no party in the history of the Bahamas that has been prepared to go that far to illustrate that it is against corruption. The most we have done is to produce this weak system that we have of the declarations of assets that have to be done. It is a weak system that has no teeth in it, and no real penalties, so that it is disregarded even by people at the top of the system, and almost made fun of.
The retired Anglican Archbishop said he feels his son may have been misinterpreted by some who feel the state minister was targeting the PLP. Rather, Gomez said his son was only pointing to a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. He said government must implement strong and unequivocal measures to prevent such patronage, which he claimed all governments have taken part in.
From majority rule onwards in this country, and every honest Bahamian would agree, from majority rule onwards, the political system has functioned on the philosophy of to the victor goes the spoils. That's been the principle under which all governments since majority rule have operated.
Gomez is no stranger to speaking out against corruption. In 1983, he served on the Commission of Inquiry to probe the drug trade. The commission found that then Prime Minister Sir Lyndon Pinling had more than $3 million in his bank accounts than his official income. However, most of the members of the commission found that his wealth could not be directly or indirectly traced to the drug trade. Gomez wrote a minority report on the hearings and raised questions over Sir Lyndon's wealth.
As the new school year approaches, government officials are urging parents of non-Bahamian students to ensure they have student permits or a passport with a residency stamp when schools open in September. The new rule is part of a wider immigration policy that focuses on reducing the number of illegal immigrants living in the Bahamas. Simone Davis reports.
Though Prime Minister Perry Christie has made it clear that no child in the Bahamas would be prevented from getting an education, Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell said on Tuesday that the government is working diligently to ensure that the new immigration rules for students are in place when the new school year begins. All non-Bahamian students will be required to have a student permit or a passport with a residency stamp when schools open. The requirement will also apply to children who are born in the Bahamas but have foreign parents.
Yes, we are working on a draft announcement, which will likely be in conformity with what the Ministry of Education has already said. But just to remind people that it is an immigration requirement to have a residency permit to be in the Bahamas, even for students, and that the ministry has allowed some leeway in terms of timing in order to get the documentation straight. But the Minister of Education has to sign off on the draft announcement.
Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald said the Department of Education plans to send out another notice to remind parents of the new rule, which is a part of the wider immigration policy. However, he noted that education officials would be flexible and give parents until the end of the year to get the necessary documents for their students.
We intend to send out another notice, I think probably today, just reminding persons what the policy is. We stated that every student must produce some sort of certification that they have the authority to be in the country. The Ministry of Immigration, Department of Immigration, is facilitating that. We also stated that those kids who, for whatever reason, through immigration's processing, are unable to have the necessary paperwork in place by September, would have until the 31st of December to cure whatever that is, and so they will be registered. But we expect by the end of the year that everyone will be compliant, and we haven't changed from our position on that.
When Mitchell announced those requirements earlier this year, many questioned whether the policy shift would infringe on the rights of the child, since it comes years after the country became party to that convention, which mandates that education is compulsory and available free to all. Mitchell previously responded to that, stating that the policy does not violate any international conventions. Fitzgerald said today that he is confident that Bahamians now understand the only purpose of the policy.
I know that we have made it clear that, register the kids and find out exactly what the challenge is. And I think the community and the country knows what the requirements are. And I know the Department of Immigration is working very feverishly to make sure that those persons who meet the required the immigration requirements are properly documented.
The annual permit costs $25 with a processing fee of $100. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.